Hi everyone, welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day by popular demand. Well, it looks like there's another weed in the garden. No, it's the same old weed. The little weasel that is Dan Ashworth is back on the unemployment pile. Yes, he's left Manchester United as his role as Sporting Director 5 months after he was appointed officially. 5 months after the footballing messiah, according to Manchester United fans, had came down from the football heavens to restore Manchester United to the glory days. Hasn't really worked, has it, Dan? Now, I'm going to look at this in two different ways, to be honest with you, right? From a professional point of view, I empathise, right? We've all had a chance in our careers where we've maybe gone somewhere that we thought was better, the grass was greener, and in hindsight, it was a mistake. And then sometimes you get a chance to roll back from those mistakes, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you bounce around in a few different jobs until you land somewhere where you feel a bit more like that's suited for you. So that I empathise with. What I cannot sympathise with is the way Dan Ashworth went about this whole move in the first place. That little shit weasel was doing things for Manchester United whilst he was on gardening leave for Newcastle United. You know, he looked like he wasn't working with Eddie. Funny that, because I'm going to talk about one of the reasons why he's probably moved on from his role, that he felt like he wasn't included or undermined or whatever. Very interesting similarities between these two. But I didn't like the way that Dan Ashworth was carrying on. I certainly did not like the way the Manchester United board and the new chief kind of instigator, Cyril Sneer himself, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, was going on about it, slagging off Newcastle in the media. He's such an arrogant, pompous wanker, this bloke. I despise him. He's absolutely fucking rancid. And I think a lot of Manchester United fans probably don't like this bloke either, which I'll get into in a second. He's like Jacob Rees-Mogg with better dress sense is what he is. He's a fucking arsehole is what he is, this twat of a man, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He really is. The way he talks, his arrogance, he's just privilege personified, the way he talks and looks down his fucking nose at people. He's like a pound shop Richard Branson, the prick. I can't bear him. But the way he went on about talking about Newcastle in such a disparaging light, like we were, this little shitty club, and Manchester United with a superpower. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Manchester United aren't a bigger club than Newcastle United, because they are. I know we don't want to hear that, but they are. They've won loads of trophies. Commercially, they're one of the biggest clubs on the planet, right? But they're a fucking mess. They're a dumpster fire. And Dan Ashworth should have well known better that the grass wasn't going to be greener on that side. I mean, fuck me. If he'd gone to Man City or Liverpool, I kind of understood. I would have understood. Even if he went to Real Madrid or Barcelona, I would have understood that, right? But to go to Manchester United with all the shit that was going on there behind the scenes, what a bad mistake that was. And why are the reasons that Dan Ashworth has moved on from the job? I mean, never mind moved on. The word is he was frog marched out of the ground when they lost against Nottingham Forest the other day. Frog marched out of a separate exit, almost like that episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns makes Homer climb through that small door to get his job back. A little bit like that. Very similarity actually between Sir Twatcliffe and Mr. Burns, if you look at it, to be honest with you. But going back to the reasons Ashworth maybe moved on. Now, apparently he had turned out and said he was happy with the squad and all this kind of stuff, but it looks very much like Inos are kind of blaming Dan Ashworth for some of the poor signings that they've made, the likes of Xerxes, maybe De Ligt, players like that. They gave Eric Ten Hag a new contract and they've sacked him. So between Ashworth and Ten Hag, they're going to have to shell out nearly 30 million quid worth of payments out. And what has Sir Jim Twatcliffe done to balance the books there? I mean, never mind the fact that Manchester United got free passes from the Premier League for PSR and FFP, which was seen in the COVID pandemic when they were able to write off some imaginary fucking tour and get millions back in the coffers so they didn't breach the rules and get shafted like the likes of Forest did and Everton did and Newcastle nearly did until we sold two of our most exciting young players. So what has Sir Jim Twatcliffe done to balance these big mistakes that they've made? He's went and put the kids' ticket prices up from 40 quid to 60 quid. He's laid off executives. I think the total amount of money that's been raised from putting the ticket prices up, which a lot of Manchester United fans aren't happy about, and rightly so, is 600 grand or something like that to get back into the coffers. Now, the problem is with this guy, he's turned around, he said things at Manchester United, that why should Fulham have cheaper tickets than we do? And I actually saw Goldbridge, fair play to him, pull Sir Jim Ratcliffe about this, and Fulham have only got like a very small ground. Is it 15,000, 20,000, something like that? And Manchester United can fill 75,000. And not to mention, you horrible, rancid, rich, privileged wanker, it's the north of England, one of the most deprived places in the country. You know, Manchester itself has been a bit more cosmopolitan. I call it the London of the North because of all the development going on in there. You know, you've got media centre, all that kind of stuff going on, arguably since the Manchester City owners rocked up into town. But this horrible fucking prick of a man, to him, £60 for a ticket is chump change. You'd lose it on the back of the sofa. But not to people out there right now who are struggling to pay their mortgages, to pay their electricity bills, worrying about putting food on the table. Manchester United may be their release every week, you know, maybe where they go with their kids, maybe where they go with their elderly fathers or mothers or whatever. And this horrible prick of a man just putting the prices up in a blink of an eye, not giving two fucks about the fan base. Now, that's something for Manchester United fans to own as well. They were buzzing when Sir Jim Ratcliffe came in. We've been there as well. We had it with Mike Ashley, and that guy reminds me of Mike Ashley. He really, really does. The way he's going on is complete lack of understanding of what a football club is. First and foremost, is a football club, not a business, a football club. It's special for the community, it's special for the region, and he doesn't see that. He just sees a business, and that's why he's acting as cold and callously as he is. I saw some great posts from Kieran Maguire, who accused Inos of a bullying culture, and you can see that reason for this now, and it's no surprise that Ashworth has been ousted from the job. They're saying it's mutual consent. Bullshit. After 5 months, you do not shove anybody out. Anybody leaves after 5 months by mutual consent. And Ashworth would only be going if he was getting a better job, which it doesn't look like he is. But rowing back from this as a Newcastle fan, I find it fucking hilarious. And the reason I find it hilarious is because of the way that both Ashworth and Manchester United and Ratcliffe went on about this appointment. And the Manchester United fans as well. Now, Goldbridge is talking sense right now, but at the time, they were fucking disrespectful to Newcastle. They were mocking us. They were saying Ashworth's moving on to bigger and better. All the posts will be getting pulled out of the wash, I'm sure, by Newcastle fans, re-quoted, retweeted, reposted on Blue Sky, all that stuff, because they were throwing in our faces that this guy was leaving the exciting project that is Newcastle United to the massive warship that is Manchester United. But we all knew it was a dumpster fire. Everybody knew it was a bad move, except seemingly for Dan Ashworth. And you reap what you sow, you little fucking weasel prick that you are, you know. And your credibility, your integrity is in the fucking toilet, because, you know, you left Brighton for us. I don't know how he left Brighton. Brighton fans, let us know in the comments. A couple of people said it was a little bit snaky the way he left Brighton as well. And then the way he left Newcastle was really bad, to the fact that we put him on gardening leave, left him in the garden until he was, you know, legally supposed to have left. But he was doing things for Manchester United behind the scenes, allegedly. You just know he was. You know, that there was too much smoke without there not being any fire with regards to those kind of things. So I have no sympathy for Ashworth in that regard, and no sympathy for the Manchester United fans that mock Newcastle about appointing this messiah of football, who has lasted, you know, as long as probably a fucking yogurt in your fridge or a tin of beans in your cupboard. Actually, a tin of beans would last a lot longer than this fucking bloke. But hilarious for me as a Newcastle fan. You reap what you sow. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. But as someone told me once upon a time, if you leave somewhere, try to leave on good terms and don't burn your bridges. Ashworth burnt his bridges royally with Newcastle United. I don't think there'll be any tears shed for the fact that he's out of work again, and he's being blamed for bad transfer windows and managers at Manchester United. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Ashworth. Do you think it's hilarious? Do you empathise or sympathise with the situation? Or, again, do you just think it's absolutely hilarious and it's ironic in terms of the way that he went on? Or it's probably justified with the way that he went on. I think it's probably the right word for leaving Newcastle in the state that he did. But let us know in the comments, guys. We always like to hear from you. Smash like and subscribe. Keep it ever more. We'll be back with some more Newcastle content this week. I don't know what you're doing, Dan Ashworth. It's very cold for gardening, mate. So you might have to wait until the winter passes before you start going out there and pruning your tulips. Have a belter, everyone. See you later.